Hey ladies and gentlemen, they won't remember the gifts you bought or the trips you planned as much as they'll remember how they felt when they were around you. Were they safe? Were they heard? Were they seen? That's the real measure of value in a relationship. Being a high-value partner doesn't mean you're flawless, it means you're consistent. It doesn't mean you're perfect, it means you're growing. It's not about what you can offer in material things. It's about what you bring emotionally, mentally, and spiritually to the person you love. In a world of quick connections and shallow attention spans, real emotional depth is rare, but it's not dead. It's just uncommon. If you've ever wondered whether you're the type of person someone would regret losing, this one's for you, because these 5 signs will show you exactly what it means to be a high-value partner, and if they describe you, you're already the kind of love most people are still searching for. You don't just listen, you understand. When someone speaks to you, they don't feel like they're talking to a wall. They feel heard. You're not waiting for your turn to speak. You're processing what they say. You remember the small things. You care about what they care about, even if it's not your passion. Because when you love someone, their joy becomes yours too. You're not just physically present, you're emotionally available. That means during arguments, you don't escalate. You anchor. You know that sometimes what someone says isn't really what they mean, and you're patient enough to uncover the real need behind the emotion. That patience, that empathy, that emotional intelligence, it's rare and it's valuable. Because most people can talk, but few can truly connect. When someone's around you, they feel safe expressing themselves because they know they're not being judged, they're being understood. And that's when walls come down and trust is built. You respect boundaries, not because someone demanded them, but because you naturally honor what matters to them. You understand that love doesn't mean ownership. It means space, balance, and freedom to be yourself without fear. You don't see boundaries as rejection. You see them as direction. You support your partner's individuality, their friendships, their passions, without making it about your ego. That kind of emotional maturity means you're not threatened by independence, you encourage it. You recognize that a healthy relationship is made of 2 whole people, not 2 halves trying to complete each other. When your partner says no, you respect it. When they need time, you give it. And because you don't invade their space, they trust you in ways they never trusted anyone before. That's the foundation of a long-lasting relationship: mutual respect, not forced control. Your presence feels like peace, not pressure. You're not the kind of partner who creates emotional chaos, then calls it passion. You're not addicted to drama or the thrill of constant emotional highs and lows. You create steadiness. When things get rough, you don't run. You don't explode, you stay grounded. That stability makes people feel like they can breathe around you. It makes them feel protected, safe. And that's something very few people know how to offer. You're not here to test love, you're here to nurture it. Your consistency makes you dependable. Your calm energy makes the relationship a place of healing, not survival. And because you're emotionally centered, your partner doesn't fear being vulnerable with you. That peace you bring, it's one of the rarest and most beautiful gifts you can ever give to another person. You hold yourself accountable. You don't shift blame when things go wrong. You own your mistakes, even when it's hard. You say sorry, not out of weakness, but because you value growth more than pride. That willingness to take responsibility shows that your ego doesn't run the relationship, your values do. A high-value partner doesn't pretend to be perfect. You're honest about your flaws, transparent about your past, and committed to your growth. You don't justify bad behavior, you correct it. And when your partner sees that, they feel safe evolving with you. They know they're with someone who doesn't just love them when it's easy, but someone who's strong enough to self-reflect and improve when it's hard. Accountability is love in action. It builds trust, it builds security, and it builds the kind of bond that lasts far beyond surface attraction. You pour into yourself so you don't bleed onto others. A high-value partner knows that you can't love someone properly if you don't love yourself fully. You prioritize your mental health. You work on your emotional wounds. You set goals. You have passions and purpose outside of the relationship. And that self-work doesn't make you selfish, it makes you sustainable. You don't look for your partner to fix you or complete you. You walk beside them as an equal, whole, and open. And that energy is attractive. It's rare. It shows that you're not here out of neediness, you're here out of choice. You can give more because you've done the work to fill yourself up first. And in a world full of people looking to be saved, you become the partner who brings peace instead of pressure. You don't just survive relationships, you help them thrive. You don't make love a competition, you make it a collaboration. You don't keep score of who gives more, who wins more arguments, or who sacrifices more. You don't use love as leverage or weaponize vulnerability. Instead, you bring a spirit of teamwork. You communicate openly. You share the load. You recognize when your partner's tired and you step in without being asked. You know that sometimes you'll carry more, and other times they will, but you don't resent that, to honor it. Because to you, love is about giving, not trading. And that mindset is what makes people feel chosen, not just tolerated. It builds a dynamic where both people rise. Together, you become not just a partner but a true teammate, someone who inspires confidence, safety, and growth in the person you love. You see the long game. You don't chase instant gratification. You don't blow up what you're building just because of one disagreement. You don't jump ship at the first sign of difficulty. You see love as something that takes time, effort, and evolution. You believe in growing together. You're not here to replay old wounds, you're here to build new patterns. That vision makes you solid. It gives your partner the confidence to invest in you because they know that you're not just here for the high moments, you're here to weather storms. Your patience becomes a lifeline in a world that gives up too fast. And because you value the long term, you speak differently, love differently, and show up with a level of maturity that separates you from the crowd. You lead with love, not control. A high-value partner empowers, doesn't overpower. You don't see your partner's strength as a threat. You see it as a reflection of your own. You cheer for them, you believe in them, you push them to rise, even if it means they outgrow old versions of themselves. That selfless encouragement makes people feel truly loved, because love, at its core, is not about possession. It's about freedom. You offer that freedom, and in return you earn a kind of loyalty, trust, and respect that no manipulation could ever achieve. That's who you are. That's why you're rare. If even a few of these signs describe you, you're already becoming the kind of partner the world needs more of. And if you're still working on it, good, because being high value isn't a title, it's a journey. A decision you make every day in how you love, lead, and grow. So keep going. The world needs more love like yours. They won't always remember the flowers you brought or the exact words you said, but they'll never forget the way they felt when they were with you. That's what makes someone truly unforgettable, not the grand gestures, but the emotional weight of your presence. Being a high-value partner isn't about being the most attractive or the most financially successful. It's not about how popular you are or how well you perform in public. It's about the quality of energy you bring into someone's life. It's about how deeply you listen, how calmly you respond, and how safely you make others feel just by being yourself. In a world flooded with superficial attention, emotional depth has become rare, so rare that when someone feels genuinely heard and understood, it feels almost unfamiliar. But that unfamiliarity is what makes it precious. And if you're someone who doesn't just listen but truly understands, you're already showing the first sign of being a high-value partner. Because most people don't know how to listen. They hear noise, they hear words, but they don't really absorb what the other person is saying. They're too busy preparing their response or defending their point. But when you're truly high value, you don't listen to react, you listen to understand. You hold eye contact, not to intimidate, but to connect. You give your full attention, not because you're trying to win points, but because you actually care. You don't interrupt, rush, or dismiss. You allow space for thoughts to land, even when they're messy, even when they don't immediately make sense, because you understand that sometimes people speak through emotion first before they find the real words. And you're patient enough to wait for those words without judgment. That patience, that's love, that's value. And it's not just in serious conversations, it's in the day-to-day moments too. When your partner talks about a random story from their day, you're tuned in, not zoning out or scrolling your phone. You're not brushing off what seems small to you because you recognize that it matters to them. That kind of presence builds emotional safety. It says, I care, even when there's nothing dramatic happening. And emotional safety is the bedrock of every lasting relationship. Without it, people hide parts of themselves, they hold back. They walk on emotional eggshells, never knowing how their partner will respond. But when you truly understand someone and they feel that, they open up, they reveal the raw, the real, and the imperfect parts of themselves because they finally feel like they won't be ridiculed or dismissed for being human. You also understand that people don't always say what they mean, especially in emotionally charged moments. A high-value partner knows how to read beneath the surface. If your partner says I'm fine, but their tone and body language say otherwise, you don't just take their words at face value and walk away. You ask again gently, you create space for the truth to come out, even when it's uncomfortable. You're not afraid of emotion. You don't run from someone's tears or frustrations. You stay present, steady, and available. That calmness becomes your superpower, because when someone feels safe enough to bring their full self into the room without fear of being rejected or misunderstood, they feel something rare. They feel emotionally free, and freedom in love is powerful. You also take the time to understand your partner's love language. You don't assume that what works for you works for them. You ask, you observe. You learn how they feel loved, whether it's through words of affirmation, physical touch, acts of service, quality time, or gifts. You don't love them how it's easy for you. You love them in the way that fills their soul, and that kind of intention doesn't go unnoticed. It builds trust. It deepens connection. It tells your partner, I see you, I hear you, and I value what matters to you. Most relationships don't fall apart because of a lack of love. They fall apart because of a lack of understanding. And that's why this skill is foundational. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to be present. Being understood is the most underrated feeling in the world. And being the kind of partner who makes another person feel understood isn't just rare, it's sacred. You don't use someone's vulnerabilities against them. You don't store up emotional ammunition for the next argument. You protect what they share, you respect it, you honor it, and because of that, they trust you with more. They feel like they can bring their whole self to you, the broken parts, the messy thoughts, the hidden fears. And in a world that constantly demands perfection, you become their place to breathe, their place to be soft, their place to be real. This kind of emotional availability is not something you can fake. It's built through self-awareness, through a willingness to be uncomfortable, through empathy, patience, and emotional maturity. It's about knowing when to speak and when to be silent, when to offer advice and when to simply hold space. And when you get that balance right, when you become that rare person who truly understands, rather than just hears, you become someone unforgettable. And here's the truth. People don't leave someone who understands them. They may leave someone who excites them. They may walk away from someone who entertains them, but they never forget the one who truly saw them, understood them, held space for them when the world felt too loud or too fast. If you're that person, you're already high value, not because of what you give on the surface, but because of how deeply you impact someone's heart. That's what real love is built on. That's what makes you the one they never forget. That's what makes you the one they remember, not just with affection, but with reverence. Love isn't measured by the heights of passion. It's measured by how safe someone feels with you in their lowest moments. Anyone can be sweet during the highs, but a high-value partner proves their worth in the lows, in the quiet tension, in the unresolved conflict, in the misunderstood silence. The second sign that you're a high-value partner lies in your emotional consistency. Not just your ability to love fiercely when it's easy, but your ability to love calmly when it's hard. You don't allow your moods to dictate how you treat the people you care about. You've mastered yourself enough to bring peace, not unpredictability. And that consistency becomes the anchor someone didn't know they needed until they found it. You show up the same way whether the relationship is in full bloom or going through a storm. You don't weaponize your silence. You don't disappear emotionally just because you're overwhelmed. You remain grounded even when emotions try to pull you off balance. That's what separates you from those who are reactive. You don't make your partner pay the price for what you haven't healed. You don't punish with distance or leave people guessing where they stand with you. You stay emotionally available, even when you're tired, even when you're frustrated. You understand that love isn't always loud. Sometimes it's in the quiet act of staying when you could have left. Sometimes it's in the patience you show when you could have snapped. And sometimes it's simply in your consistency, being exactly who you said you'd be every single day. This doesn't mean you never have bad days. It doesn't mean you're immune to stress, pain, or internal conflict. But what it does mean is that you've built a strong enough emotional core that you don't lose yourself when life shakes you. You don't unravel every time things get uncomfortable. You process instead of projecting. You reflect instead of exploding. You understand that relationships require maturity, not just chemistry. You've outgrown the need to play emotional games. You don't disappear to teach lessons. You don't push people away just to see if they'll chase. You're not here to be tested, you're here to build. And that shift alone places you in a different league. You don't use love as leverage, you don't keep score. You don't dangle affection as a reward or withdraw it as punishment. Your love doesn't fluctuate based on performance, it flows from a place of principle. Because at your core, you know love should feel like security, not uncertainty. That's what people remember. That's what becomes irreplaceable. Not how often you said I love you, but how often your energy made them believe it without you needing to say a word. You bring peace instead of pressure. You bring clarity instead of confusion. And that reliability becomes their calm in a chaotic world. The truth is, emotional consistency is the quiet hero of all great relationships. It doesn't grab headlines, it doesn't scream for attention, but it lays the foundation for everything else. When someone knows they can rely on your energy, they let go of the armor. They stop walking on emotional eggshells. They stop fearing that one wrong move will flip the switch. And that freedom, that trust, that's everything. That's what turns connection into commitment. That's what makes love feel like home. Because when someone has experienced inconsistency, when they've dealt with hot and cold affection, unpredictable moods, or partners who disappear emotionally the moment things get hard, your steadiness becomes medicine. You don't bring that kind of trauma into your relationship. You bring healing. You bring understanding. You bring predictability in a world that often feels unstable. That doesn't make you boring. That makes you trustworthy. And trust is the one thing that every relationship either thrives on or dies without. You also respect boundaries, both yours and theirs. You don't get offended when someone needs space. You don't interpret emotional distance as rejection. You approach it with curiosity, not judgment. You've learned to navigate emotional complexity without taking things personally. That's a rare strength. You know that consistency isn't just about being present physically, it's about being emotionally attuned. You recognize when your partner is off, and instead of reacting, you respond. You ask, you invite them to share. And even if they're not ready, you don't pressure, you simply stay. That kind of quiet commitment is a language only few speak, but it's deeply felt by the heart that needs it most. You've created a safe emotional environment where love can breathe, where truth can be spoken without fear, where disagreements don't lead to disconnection, and where your partner knows that no matter how hard the conversation, your love isn't going to disappear in the morning. You don't threaten to leave when things get hard. You don't create emotional ultimatums. You show up even in the silence, even in the tension, because you understand that love is not a fairy tale. It's a daily choice to stay steady in a world that constantly tries to pull you off balance. That's what makes you high value. It's not in how perfectly you love, it's in how consistently you choose to love. Even when life doesn't make it easy, you've become the kind of partner who isn't just loved, they're trusted, not just desired but relied on. And when someone finds that in you, they won't want to lose it. Because you don't just bring comfort, you bring stability. You bring the kind of emotional home people don't want to walk away from, even during the hardest seasons of life. So if you see yourself in these signs, or you're becoming that kind of person, don't water yourself down to meet someone at their comfort level. Raise your standards. Keep showing up with integrity, presence, and emotional strength. Because the world doesn't need more people playing games. It needs more people who love with clarity, loyalty, and depth. Be the kind of partner you once wished you had. And when the right one meets you, they won't question your value, they'll feel it. And they'll thank the universe every day that you never settled. Keep building yourself. The love you're becoming is the love you'll attract.